Let's talk about all these trade issues with Brai Odion-Esene, founder of SW4 Insights, a public policy advisory firm. Brai, what is your reaction to the fact that the trade deficit between these two countries has widened even more because of the ongoing trade war?
Well, it's not surprising. Like, look at it from a consumer standpoint. If I told you next month the price of your favorite perfume was going to go up, what would you do? You'd run to the store tomorrow and buy up as much as you could. That way you can like buy it at a low price before the price goes up next month. That's what's happening here. A lot of producers, a lot of businesses front-loaded their orders from China ahead of the expected tariff increase, and that's why we're seeing prices go up in October.
What do you make of this so-called truce? Are you optimistic that two sides will actually come out with some kind of solution, resolution, compromise within this 90-day framework?
I would have told you on December 1st when it was announced that yes, I was. And I think you saw it in the markets. There was a little rebound in the Dow after it was announced, but then you had the president tweeting about he's a tariff man at heart and China hates tariffs. And I think what's happening now, it's been reflected in the financial markets, is that no one knows.
The uncertainty.
The uncertainty is bothering everyone, and it's causing everyone to pull back. And you're seeing yields on U.S. Treasuries drop as a result because you see a lot of safe haven money fleeing stocks to go into the safety of bonds to wait out and see what happens over the 90-day period.
What is your biggest takeaway from the G20 last week? Certainly there seemed to be consensus on reforming the WTO organization, consensus on climate change, with the exception of the United States. When you watched the G20, what was your biggest takeaway? I
think if you look at the communique that they came up with at the end, the language was very light on anti-protectionists. Basically, probably not saying we're against trade wars, we're against protectionism. I think that was about the United States to get the U.S. to sign on. And I think you saw that, after the APEC meeting with those, there was no communique because they could not agree on the language. And I think the lack of anti-protectionist language in the communique is telling, because it means going forward, we've not seen the end of these so-called trade wars.
President Xi's trip, 4 nations, which of course Argentina for G20, also Spain, Panama, and Portugal. Much of the focus, Brai, was on trade, investment. Which of these countries, in your opinion, had most to gain from President Xi Jinping's trip?
I would say 2 countries, Portugal and Panama.
Why?
Portugal because after the 2008 crisis, they took a very severe hit. They needed a bailout from the IMF in 2011, I believe. And so their economy needs the inflection of investment and that China brings. I think you look at the economics figures, very high unemployment. I mean, youth unemployment figures in the double digits. And so Portugal would definitely benefit from more closer ties with China.
And Panama?
Panama, logistical hub. You have the Panama Canal. I think China is probably the 2nd largest user of the canal behind the United States. So having closer ties with China, greater investment from China to build out. I think Panama has very ambitious plans for the canal, and they want to be they want to be even more of a major hub for global trade. And the trade wars do not benefit them because you see reduced shipping through those canals, and they want more, not less.
And China has been gaining a lot of ground in Latin America and has hit back against U.S. criticism of its growing influence. Clearly, the countries getting the trade, getting the financial help, getting the investment, don't really care what the United States has to say about this stuff. What is the U.S. concern exactly when it comes to China's investments in the region?
Well, I think it relates back to the criticisms you've heard about the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is like it's a debt trap. It creates economic dependencies.
Do they have a point?
I think, well, you look at Sri Lanka as an example, right? Like they defaulted on loans. This particular port that was built with Chinese loans is now owned by China. So there is some fair criticism in that sometimes you have some irresponsible borrowing, shall we say. Pakistan's another example of a country that perhaps overplayed its hand. So I think when done right, it's a good initiative, but
it can be a win-win.
Exactly, but you need a balance in how much debt you take on and whether you can repay that money.
All right, we'll leave it there. Brai Odion-Esene, thank you so much.